whereas star A will store the address of another variable, whereas ampersand A stores address of its own variable. If I know the memory concept exactly, how much space now we have, how much space we require, if I know that concept, then memory can be utilized properly. Whereas when I come on array, there it is a static memory allocation, because there the memory will be allocated before processing. When I come on memory allocations, it can be done in two methods. One is dynamic and one more is static. Welcome back to One and All. Myself, Vasanta, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Today, we are going to start with the revision class on pointers chapter. Whereas in the annual exam, from this chapter, you can expect two questions. One is in part A for 1 marks and one more question on part C for 3 marks. Totally 2 questions you can expect. The total weightage of this chapter is 4 marks in the annual exam. Whereas on this particular chapter, you will study regarding the major concept of this chapter is the pointers, the advantages of pointers, that is introduction to pointers, then advantages of pointers, how to initialize a pointer, then operations performed on pointers, then what is the difference between dynamic as well as static memory allocation. These are the major expected questions from this chapter. Whereas when they come on for 1 marks, what do you mean by pointer? Whereas when they come on pointer, pointer is a variable. It stores the memory address of another variable. It will not store the actual information on that place. It will store the memory address of another variable. For example, int star PTR, if we are going to write, then PTR is a pointer variable, because before that variable we have star operator. From that I can say that's a pointer variable. It stores address of another variable, that another variable of type integer format. Whereas a variable that holds memory address of another variable in memory is called it as pointer. It just stores the address of another variable. There is a difference between star A and ampersand A. Whereas star A will store the address of another variable, whereas ampersand A stores address of its own variable. Next, for 1 marks, you can expect mention any one advantage of pointer. And there are several types of advantages we have. Under that, only one advantage is here we are written, that is a memory is utilized properly. If I know the memory concept exactly, how much space now we have, how much space we require, if I know that concept, then memory can be utilized properly. Efficient program can be written here. When I come on advantages, memory is utilized properly if I know the pointer concept. Next, how to initialize a pointer. How to initialize. Here, for example, here int num equals 25 we are initialized. It means that in num we have 25. Then we are created one pointer variable int star p. Then p is a pointer variable. Then p equals ampersand num we will write. That means the address of num. Here we are initializing to pointer variable. That is nothing but initializing a pointer variable. Next, for 3 marks also you can expect the same question, right? The advantage of pointer. That is, what are the advantages of pointer? Under that, it is possible to write efficient program. Whereas when they come on memory, in this memory there is a blocks. Each block can be called as bytes. For example, if you have 1 KB of memory, then the first block can be called as 0, 1, 2 and the last one can be called as 1, 0, 2, 3. Each block, it contains the data, information. It is possible to write efficient program if I know the pointer concept. For example, I want to write a program, there it requires only 2 bytes of memory. Then I can write the program in such a way that it requires only 2 bytes of space. If I know the pointer concept, then it is possible to write efficient program. Memory is utilized properly. Memory can be utilized properly here, and dynamically allocate and deallocate memory. Then what do you mean by this dynamic memory allocation? Whereas when they come on array, there it is a static memory allocation, because there the memory will be allocated before processing. Whereas in dynamic memory allocation, whenever the variable requires the memory, only on that time memory can be allocated. After processing, the same space can be utilized by other variables here. Whereas in pointers, dynamically memory can be allocated as well as deallocated. Then easy to deal with hardware components. If I know the pointer concept, it helps to deal with hardware components. Then what do you mean by hardware components? The physical components of the computer that we can touch and feel is called as hardware here. Then here, if I know the pointer concept, it helps to deal with hardware components also. And it establishes communication between program and data. These are the major advantages you have to remember in pointer concept, because for 3 marks you can expect this question. Next, what are the operations performed on pointer? Which are the major operations we can able to perform? When they come on arithmetic operation, few operations we can able to perform as well as few operations is not possible to perform also. For example, consider you have a memory blocks. This contains 1 KB of memory space, then 0, 1, 2, the last one I'm going to call it as, for example, 1023. Then, for example, presently we are in the memory location 1, that is on the byte second position we have. If I want, I can add one integer value. For example, I want to move to the location, especially here 3. Then here the location presently I am having in 1. By adding one integer value, if I want to move to the position 3, then by adding 2 I can able to move to that particular position. If I want to move to the 10th position, by adding that number, digits, which position I want to move, by that I can able to move to that particular position. If I want, I can add. For example, presently I am in location 1. By adding 2, that is an integer value, I can able to move to that particular memory location. We can add an integer value to a pointer is possible. When we come on arithmetic operations performed on pointers, there are few operations that can be performed and few operations it is not possible to perform on pointers. When they come on operations performed on pointers, there the first one, we can add an integer value to a pointer, it is possible. We cannot add the pointers, 2 pointers directly we cannot able to add. But if I want, I can add one integer value to a pointer is possible. And we can subtract an integer value from a pointer. For example, I am presently in the position 3. I want to move to the position 1. Then minus 2 if I am going to write, then I can able to move. For example, presently I am in position 3. I want to move to position 2. Then by subtracting by 1, I can able to move to the position 2. It means that we can subtract an integer value from a pointer here. It is possible. And we can compare 2 pointers if they point the elements of same array. Consider here we have one more pointer and here one more array we have. When have both the same data type, then we can able to compare. Here with same array, both if they have same array, same format, same data type, then we can able to compare. Then we can subtract one pointer from another pointer if both points to the same array. We can able to compare. We can able to subtract when they are of same data type. And we can assign one pointer to another pointer provided both are same type. For example, here also we have integer, here also we have integer. Then we can assign from one pointer to another pointer. These are the major operations that we can able to perform in a pointer. Next, what are the operations that cannot be performed on pointer? On that case, only 4 operation is not possible. Addition of 2 pointer. When both are pointer, addition of 2 pointer is not possible. Subtraction of 2 pointer is not possible. Multiplication of 2 pointer is not possible. As well as division of 2 pointer is not possible. That is, addition of 2 pointer is not possible. Then subtraction of 1 pointer from another pointer when they do not point to the same array. Then multiplication of 2 pointers is not possible, as well as division of 2 pointers is not possible. These are the major operation that we cannot able to perform in a pointer. Possible operations are, we can add one integer value. we can subtract one integer value, but not possible operations under that addition of two pointers, subtraction as well as multiplication as well as division is not possible. Now is it clear? Next, we will move on the next question, how dynamic memory allocation is different from static memory allocation. When we come on memory allocations, it can be done in two methods. One is dynamic and one more is static. Whereas in dynamic, whenever the variable requires, only on that time the memory will be allocated. Whereas in static, before compiling the program, at the time of compilation itself, the memory will be allocated in static. Whereas in static, memory requirement will be more, whereas in dynamic, memory requirement will be less. And with that, in static, time consumption is very less, whereas in dynamic, time consumption is more here. Under that, memory is allocated during compilation time in static memory allocation, whereas static is used in array, whereas dynamic is used in pointer concept. Memory is allocated during the execution time, whereas here at the time of compilation, whereas in dynamic at the time of execution. It means that whenever the memory requirement is there, only on that time memory will be allocated. And the amount of memory to be allocated is predicted and pre-known. In the beginning itself, we know how much memory it requires. It is pre-known. Whereas the amount of memory to be allocated is unknown. Whenever we require, only on that time, depending upon the situation, that time the memory will be allocated here. And variable remains permanently allocated. Permanently, memory has to be allocated. That's why memory consumption is more. Whereas here, temporarily memory will be allocated. That's why memory consumption is less here. Allocated only when program unit is active. And here, implemented using stacks and heaps, whereas here in dynamic, implemented using data segments. These are the few difference between static as well as dynamic memory allocation. With that, you can write regarding time, memory consumption, when memory will be allocated. Regarding that, you can say the difference between dynamic as well as static memory allocation. Next, we will move on to the next question, that is for 3 marks. What is array of pointers and give example. When we come on pointers, it shows address of another variable. If I am going to write just int a of 10, then it is array. It contains totally 10 elements, all the 10 elements of type integer stored by the same name a. Whereas the compiler will store only the address of first element, that is a of 0th address only it will store, and a also stores the address of first element. But if I want, I can able to store address, that is list of address also we can able to store. That is nothing but array of pointer. Pointer array means collection of address of same data type. There we'll write, for example, int star a of 10 if I'm going to write. Then what happens? Totally 10 elements address it will store here. Whereas in this case, it will store only the address of first element. Whereas if I want, I can store the list of address also. That is, collection of address is also possible. To represent data type, array name, then here size. Whereas before writing array name, you have to write star operator. From that, I can say that it is address. Whereas in this example, int star p of 5, if I am going to write, then totally 5 address. Here we have star operator. From that, I can say that total it will store 5 address. For example, for a equals 10, we are initializing. For b equals 20, c equals 30, d equals 40, and e equals 50. Like that, whichever value you want, you can initialize. Whereas p of 0 represent the address of a, that is ampersand of a. Then p of 1 represent the address of b. And p of 2 represent the address of c. And p of 3 represents address of d. In the same way, p of 4 represents address of e. Then if I want to access, once again for that pointer variable, if you write star operator, then star p of 0 represent the value 10 here. The star p of 1 represents 10 here, and p of 2 represents 30, p of 3 represents 40, p of 4 represents 50 here. That means before that variable, once again, if you have star operator, then I can able to access the value here. This is nothing but array of pointer. Now is it clear? Then on this chapter, majorly you have studied regarding what do you mean by pointers, how to declare a pointers, how to initialize a pointer, the advantages of pointer, then how to perform the operations, which are the major operations which we can able to perform on pointers, and which are the operation is not possible to perform on pointers. Then if I want to access a functions, especially on this pointers, then arrow operator is used. Then the difference between static and dynamic memory allocation. These are the major expected questions from this chapter. Whereas in the next class, you will study regarding data file handling. When we come on data file handling, there you will study regarding what do you mean by data, information, what do you mean by stream, input stream, output stream, then how to open a file, that is by using open function as well as by using constructor function, how to open the files and how to access the data members on that, then how to close a file, then IF stream, under that which are the functions will get, under OF stream which are the functions will get, that is get line, put line, all those functions regarding that you will study. With that you will come to know regarding file modes, whereas file modes will tell you regarding which type of operations exactly we are performing on that file. For example, if I am going to write in, out, binary, depending upon that particular operations here it will perform. Regarding that, you will study in the next session. Thank you for all of you.